Good morning, Amy. I am sharing one of my tomato recipes with you today. It's one of my simple appetizer recipes. It's going to start out by taking some fresh ricotta. We're going to add a little seasoning to that. We're going to put it into a mini tart shell, and then you got to have tomatoes. If it's in the summertime and you're fortunate enough to go out and pick them, they should still be warm from the sun. Otherwise, anything you can find. And then some toasted pine nuts and fresh basil. So we're going to start out by making this ricotta filling. So about a half a cup or so of ricotta, and you want to season it really well with some salt and pepper. We're just going to mix this together a little bit, kind of soften it up a little bit, get those herbs or those seasonings mixed around in here. And the tart shells that I'm going to use for this today can be any of your regular tart shells that you like to use at home, or if you like to make the dough from scratch, that works too. But I'm going to use phyllo mini shells. They're easy to find. They're in the local grocery store in the freezer department, and they're super easy to use. So if you're in a pinch or in a hurry, or if you're somebody that doesn't do very well with rolling out your own pie dough, go ahead and grab these little phyllo cups. And we're going to take that ricotta and a little scooper, and we're going to fill these little shells. And I've got the shells lined on parchment paper cookie sheet, because we are going to bake these. All right, so a little dollop of ricotta on all of those. And then we're going to take those tomatoes and just cut them in half. And I normally cut through the stem side here. And they're just going to get pressed into the top of our shells there. And I use cherry size, but you could do grape size if you wanted. I've even done this in a pinch if all you had was larger tomatoes, cutting them up and just doing chopped tomatoes on top. All right, so now we're going to go ahead and pop the, oh, sorry, I forgot the pine nuts here. So pine nuts you can find in most grocery stores. They're a little bit expensive, and they do turn rancid rather fast. They have a high fat content to them. So when you're not using them, store them in your freezer. But for this application, you're just going to take the straight pine nuts here, and you're just going to press a couple in around the tomatoes. You want them sticking out a little bit so they actually get toasted when we bake the tarts. Okay, so now you've got them all ready to go, and this can be done up a couple hours in advance if you're somebody that's doing a lot when the guests arrive. About half an hour or so before the guest arrives when you want to attend to them. You're going to pop them into the oven. It's going to be a 400-degree oven for 10 minutes. What happens is the tomatoes get a little toasty, the pine nuts toast up, and then the ricotta actually bakes a little bit, releasing some of that salt and pepper that we added to that. When they come out, you want to let them cool, and then put them on your serving tray. And then what I normally do just before service, as you can see the tomatoes are kind of toasted a little bit, I've just got a little bit of fresh basil. I'm just slicing thinly. And then, like I said, just before actual service, I take a little bit of olive oil, extra virgin olive oil, and just kind of drizzle it over the tops of the tarts. It helps the basil stick a little bit. Do a little bit more of that salt and pepper. And then last but not least, that fresh basil. And Amy, there you go. That is my tomato ricotta tartlets. It's a great appetizer. It does really well served warm or even just room temperature, and holds up for at least a couple hours for a party.